Hey, this is DJ Costanzo of Sensory Collective, and in this tutorial I will be showing you how to make a wah effect in Reason. But the concepts I'm going to show you are not specific to Reason. You should be able to take what I'm doing here and apply it to pretty much any software or hardware that you're using to make beats. So let's get started. When I was trying to create this effect, what I was trying to do is get a sound similar to one that Pete Rock uses in a lot of his beats, specifically on Pete's instrumentals and Soul Survivor, and really throughout his whole catalog. But Pete's instrumentals is the one that really jumps to mind as where it's used a lot. So let's take a quick listen to one of these tracks and hear what I'm talking about. Turn it up a little bit so you can hear it better. So starting right here, you can hear it. And this beat, it's featured pretty prominently. Usually it's a little more of a subtle effect, but it's really versatile. You can use it in a ton of different ways and on many different styles of beats. So you can probably hear why I wanted to figure out how to do that. So over here in Reason, I have just a real basic project set up. This isn't one of my finished beats or anything. It's just a bare bones project. And I've got a mixer set up with a combinator and a Dr. Rex player. And if I flip it around here, you can see that I have the Dr. Rex player audio output going into the combinator, and then the combinator output is going to my mixer. So the combinator is an insert effect on the Rex player. And I'm going to rename the combinator wah because that's really what it is. And this loop that I have here in the Rex is just a stock like Rhodes piano loop or something that comes with Reason. Nothing special, but it's it's a pretty clean sound, and you'll be able to hear the adjustments that I'm making really easily. So let's hear what it sounds like to start with. So it's just a two-note loop, and let's close up the Rex because we don't really care about that. Everything that we're doing is going to be in the combinator. So the first thing to do is create an EQ device, and this should be pretty familiar to anybody who's making beats. Basically, you can adjust volumes at specific frequencies, and kind of like it helps you when you're mixing your beats. And as you can see, the Rex output is going in, and then the audio is processed through the equalizer, and it goes back out. Right now, nothing is enabled on the equalizer, so let's change that. I'm going to be using one of these parameters, and I enable it, and now I'm going to set it up so that one of my knobs on my MPD controls the parameter 1 gain, and another knob controls the parameter 1 frequency. And you can't see my MPD, it's off screen, but basically I'm just using two of the knobs here, and the first one controls the gain setting, so you can see that as I'm rotating up here, the way I have it set up in my combinator, it's controlling this gain over here. So let's call this EQ gain. And the second one is same thing, rotary tube, but it's controlling the frequency that the gain is applied at. So let's label this one EQ frequency. And really this is it. The wah effect is just a combination of these two things. So let's hear what it sounds like over this loop. So that's pretty much it. If you wanted to stop there, you could do that. You could just take these and apply, record a track where you're just moving one of these knobs back and forth. But you can get a little more in depth than that, which is what I'm going to do. You'll notice that I'm only increasing the gain here. It goes down to a negative value where you can cut a specific frequency, and this is a bandpass filter basically. But this doesn't sound like the wah effect that I'm going for. Here, I'll show you what this sounds like. So that's cutting frequency at a specific volume instead of increasing cutting the volume at a specific frequency instead of increasing the volume at a specific frequency, which is what the wah effect is. And then varying the frequency. So I'm going to take my gain knob and I'm going to make the minimum value 0. And what this means is that now I'm rotating the knob, but it doesn't go to a negative value. It only does a positive value, so I can't go any lower than what I'd like. And next on the frequency knob, it goes the full spectrum from the value is over here. It's 0 to 1,000, which doesn't really correspond to anything. It just says that it has 1,000 possible different values between over here is 0 and over here is 1,000. But just like the gain, the wah effect is only audible at certain frequencies. Like at the high end of the spectrum, at the low end of the spectrum, it's not really gonna you won't be able to hear too much of it. So let's give a demo of this. It's really more in the middle, like right around here. So just like I adjusted that knob, the previous knob for the gain, I'm gonna set a minimum and a maximum value for the frequency knob, and now the minimum value and the maximum value are both in the middle of the spectrum instead of going all the way to the end. So this is a little better. Again, you could record yourself just moving this knob for your whole track, and that could be it, but you can go more in depth than this. The next part of it is adjusting, automating rather, the curve so that you don't have to, you can use an LFO to control the frequency knob so you don't have to adjust it manually. And in Reason, I'm going to use a Maelstrom device for this. The Maelstrom device is actually a synthesizer, so normally it generates sound, but we're not going to generate any sound out of it. You can see back here the audio input is not hooked up. Instead, we're going to use the two LFO sections, actually just one of them, but it's got two LFOs here, Mod A and Mod B, and we're going to take the Mod A output, which is not sound, it's a signal that can control other like other parameters on Maelstrom or other parameters on other devices, and we're going to connect it to the wah rotary 2 CV in, and rotary 2 is the knob that I set up to control the frequency. So this is connected, and now when I flip this around, you can see that the knob 2 is moving on its own, and it's moving based on this curve over here. So next you can set up, I've got more empty knobs, so I'm going to take rotary 3 and make it change modulator A curve. So we can call this LFO shape. And as I rotate this knob, you can see that the picture of the waveform is changing here, and also the way it's applied matches up to the equalizer. So you can do, they have like all kinds of like square waves and sine waves and more complex curves like this one. Another thing that you can do is take another rotary and have it adjust modulator A rate, and now you can adjust the speed that the curve is applied. So this is the same shape, but as I'm adjusting the rate, it goes slower. And let's hear what this sounds like. So you can get some pretty crazy effects. And these are all not tempo synced. They're arbitrary frequencies, and you can also control this. And I'm going to take one of these buttons, button number 4, and make it control modulator A sync. And so let's call this LFO sync, and the previous one, I'm going to label that LFO rate. So now as I press this LFO sync button, it's going to adjust this sync button over here, and now the rate with it off, it's a value between 0 and 127. So right now it's on like 72. When I switch tempo sync on, now you see it's a half note. Whoops, hit the record button. And you can switch it to, like, you know, down to 30-second notes, make it a lot slower down to, you know, quarter notes or whole notes, four bars. And I'm just going to play around and come up with a couple of settings and find something that sounds cool. That one's pretty good. Okay. So another thing is, you notice I still have these 3 buttons over here, so I'm going to make some presets that I can always hit, and I know that they're going to sound good. And so I'm just going to note the values that I have right here. Modulator A is on curve 15, so I'm going to have button 1 control modulator A curve, and buttons only have 2 values. They have an on and off state. So that was at 15, and what is the rate value? It's at 73. So I'm going to take button 1 and have it adjust modulator A rate, and it's going to go to 73. Oops, if I can get it to adjust. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now, if I adjust the settings, now I always have a button that I can go back to and have a nice preset. And I'm just going to play around and find another one. Let's see. That one sounds pretty cool. Maybe a little slower. So again, I'm going to note the settings. I have sync off, I have modulator A rate 88, and I have modulator A curve at 20. So I'm going to take button 2, or sorry, no. I'm going to adjust the off state of button 1 so that it goes to 20 on the curve and up to 90 something on the rate, and now I can go back and forth between these 2 settings. And I'm going to take another one of these, and this will just toggle when it's enabled. So you'll notice that right now it's always enabled, but if I hit this switch right here, the knob is still turning, but the parameter 1 is not enabled, so I can easily cut it off. And I'm going to take button 2 and map it to parameter 1 enabled. So now you can go back and forth between, like, and that's pretty much it. You know, you can get more complex with it than that, and you can get some really cool sounds out of this. Like I was saying, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to check out Sensory Collective for more in the future. Thanks for watching.